Welcome to the pod focusing on the aftermath and recovery from the devastating Palisades fires of January 2025. Journalist Joel Pollack, entrepreneur Oren Ezra, and technology expert Ron Goldschmidt serve up to the moment vital news and information, discuss the ongoing recovery efforts, and introduce us to the individuals and trades who are playing key roles in rebuilding our cherished communities. We're diving into the deep end and learning quickly how we can move forward together. We know the pain because we're living real-time news, stories, resources, and insights on the ongoing recovery effort. Buckle up. We're three homeless guys.
Welcome to Three Homeless Guys, the podcast about the Palisades fire and the rebuilding effort. I am journalist Joel Pollack here with technology expert Ron Goldschmidt and entrepreneur Oren Ezra. And we are joined today by a guest all the way from Israel, Adi Migdal, who is a specialist in sustainable building and is going to tell us about building strategies to avoid fires in the future. Adi, say a quick hello before we jump into the news.
Hi guys, nice to meet you all. I'm very happy to be here today.
Excellent. Adi, you're, I think, 9 or 10 hours ahead of us, so we really appreciate you making time in your schedule. I want to start with some news. The big news today is Mayor Karen Bass is very proud of, as she puts it, homes under construction throughout the Palisades. So let me read you. She posted this on X on Sunday, May 25th. And we can show the video after I read the caption. You tell me if this looks right to you. But she says, homes are under construction throughout the Palisades, ahead of expectations. We've taken action to cut red tape and expedite the permitting process to get families home. So let's look at homes under construction across the Palisades. There you go. So that's one house. Now, I know there are at least one or two other structures that are going up. There's a commercial building that started going up on Via de la Paz. People were very excited to see the pictures on WhatsApp of the wood frame going up. But she says homes are under construction throughout the Palisades. I think there are more than one, but I don't know if it's really accurate to say homes are already under construction throughout the Palisades. Right now, we're still in a debris removal stage. I don't know what you guys think. It seems like a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I see home. Did she say homes or home? S in the end?
Yeah.
Maybe she said home. And I was driving to our neighborhood and I see, and Ron actually mentioned it as well to me. He said, oh, did you see a few houses down from you? They're starting to build a new place. And I said, yeah, you know what? I stopped by. They don't have foundation. And I assuming what they do is they just build the layout of the house just to show the neighbor that they're not like blocking the view or something. So they're building the, I don't know, the roof or the pitch line, the frame, the pitch line or something to show what's happening over there. But I don't know. I haven't seen like any houses come up. I'm sure there will be like, you know, the first like 10, 15, even 50, but it's like nothing. We have 10,000 houses to rebuild. And I haven't heard from anybody, and I'm talking to a lot of contractors, talking to a lot of friends, haven't heard from anybody that it's like getting any easier to get permits or anything. Hopefully we're wrong, but doesn't look like right now. I want to mention something. You know, a lot of the houses that got cleared from the debris, as we spoke about from the beginning, were cleared by the Army Corps of Engineers. Now, the fact that they were cleared by Army Corps of Engineers means that they brought in like contractors from out of town, out of state, and those contractors are doing it. It doesn't mean like people don't really understand sometimes, but they think that they're like soldiers coming with their like army vehicles and clearing their lots. No, the army is like managing it, and there is like Joe whatever that's coming from San Francisco or from Arizona or from wherever it is, and they're clearing the lots. So something that happened to me on my lot, the day we come to remove the debris, we see that somebody decided to throw their debris on my lot. So I have all my debris, and then I have bunch of debris on my lot. Now I understand that it's happening a lot in the Palisade and in Malibu, that the contractors, probably the Army Corps of Engineers contractors, that are throwing it over there, because I don't believe that our contractors from our community living among us would do such a thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to start putting cameras up, and we'll try to catch these guys. If it happened to anybody else, please email us, send us a message. I want to see how big is this thing. I heard about probably 4 or 5 people that it happened to them already, but I want to see how big is this thing.
Well, maybe I was going to say you might have solved the landfill problem at your house.
Yeah. I don't mind. I'll charge them as much as they're charging in the landfill, and I don't mind making my house as a landfill.
All right, let me get to the second item of news. This is a story that I worked on over the weekend, Memorial Day weekend. I went into the Palisades and I saw this, and if we can bring up that photograph and I'll explain what's happening there, although it should be pretty clear what's happening.
1 second.
We were driving in and there was almost nobody on the street. This was Sunday morning or thereabouts. And there was no line at the Sunset entrance to get into Palisades. There might have been a little bit of a line on PCH because they just opened PCH. By the way, you can drive on PCH now. You should drive very slowly for the reason I'm about to explain, and for the reason Ron can probably explain many times over. But you have to drive very slowly on PCH, but you can eventually get where you're going, and hopefully that'll help the businesses in Malibu and so forth. But there was no line, and basically nobody on the road. There was nobody on Sunset Boulevard. So this happened. This was one of the drivers in front of me who barely rolled through a flashing red light. Now keep in mind, when you get into the Palisades, there's a flashing red light that has police officers waving you through. So you might be confused as you reach the other flashing red lights as to whether you're supposed to stop or keep going if there's nobody there. In this case, the driver slowed and then continued and was pulled over by a California Highway Patrol officer and received a ticket for allegedly rolling through a flashing red stoplight. I talked to the driver afterward, and the Highway Patrol officer said, "I'm sorry, we really don't want to be here, but the governor is forcing us to do this." Now, just look at the road. It's empty. There are maybe 2 or 3 other cars on the road. This is probably late morning on a Sunday when the road would normally be full of people because of the farmers market and so forth. But after the fire, nobody's there, and you can see a couple of parked police cars on the left. The Highway Patrol are pulling people over for the most minor of infractions, going over the speed limit even by a little bit, failing to stop at stop signs, whatever they can do. And according to this police officer, they are there because the state of California is telling them to do this. So I thought, well, let me ask the governor's press people about this story. And I said, did you order the Highway Patrol to have this draconian enforcement in the Pacific Palisades? And at first they tried to deflect and say, well, you need to ask the California Highway Patrol. And I said, no, I'm asking you, because they specifically said the governor ordered it. And they said, nope. So they are denying that they are behind this. But I don't know why the officer would think that the governor's office had insisted on this if that's not in fact what was happening. Maybe the governor's office would describe it somewhat differently as extra patrols for the area. But you can see they're not patrolling for looters, they're patrolling for residents. And the feeling you get after you see this happen, and Ron, I'd be interested in your take, but they're really over-enforcing the traffic with nobody in town, at least not yet. And it does give one the impression that they're trying to keep you out. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I certainly had to wonder after witnessing this, And I think the governor's office needs to be asked some more questions as to where they're maybe working with developers or contractors or maybe the Army Corps. I have no idea. But in whose interest is it to have the residents try to avoid town? Excuse me. Who benefits from this? So anyway, I'm wondering about your thoughts.
This is bullshit. I've said it on this podcast many times, and I have no doubt in my mind that there's like a draconian effort to enforce this and keep people out. Because I've been stopped 5 times for very, very minor things. You know, a rolling stop when there's nobody around. Driving 33 in a 25. By the way, I don't know if you've tried to consistently drive 25 for an hour and a half, but it's almost impossible unless you put it in auto drive. It's almost not possible. There's no cars around. I've said it on this podcast before. They are enforcing this as if like this is the only thing going on in the city. There's not like a massive homeless problems. There's not crimes in other parts of the city. There's not many other infractions. I feel like I'm in a police state while I'm in Malibu and Palisades because you just get stopped all the time. Now, when I have my interactions with the police getting stopped, and by the way, I won't stop because this is bullshit, because I'll just pay the ticket. I have a budget line item for it now. I don't care because it's completely impossible to adhere to. And by the way, from all the things that have happened in the last 5 months in our communities, from the slow permitting and the debris and the stuff that the air is bad, this is the one thing that actually is driving me out of the community. I just can't make it work for me when the commute times are so hard, and when there's like a police at every step of the way waiting for you to have the most minor infraction. This is not something that's sustainable for me for the next 2-3 years while we rebuild. So I 100% agree that this is like a concerted effort to drive people out. I don't know if the direct line is to Newsom or whoever it is, but this kind of things make people not want to stay in the area. And it's succeeded in doing that to me, because like we're not going to stay in Malibu or Palisades for the next 2-3 years as we rebuild, because it's just making it impossible to live here on a day-to-day basis.
There you go. All right. Well, with that, and hopefully for a sunnier outlook, we are going to introduce our guest more fully. Her name is Adi Migdal. She is the co-founder at a company called Greener Sustainable Solution, and she's an environmental consultant based in central Israel, and she works with architects and engineers, all while bringing principles of sustainability into building. And what does that mean? The term sustainable development gets thrown around a lot, Adi, as you know, and I actually have a degree in environmental science, so
Oh, wow.
the subject is not unfamiliar to me, but basically it means building or operating in a way that doesn't compromise the environment over time. It doesn't mean not developing, and it doesn't mean prioritizing the environment above everything else, but it's a way, at least ideally, of living in greater harmony with the environment. So when it comes to construction, I'm assuming, Adi, that means building in a way that's more environmentally friendly. But here, of course, we have specific environmental challenges. And with that, I'll let you say more about yourself and your background, and we'll have Oren take it from here, because Oren knows you best. Oren's known you for quite some time.
He is, actually. Well, Oren, do you want to?
No, go ahead.
Okay,
tell us,
so I think you did well, Joel. Thank you for the introduction. So it is true. I'm based in Israel, and I can say we are a leading company here for when it comes to sustainable buildings. And I think the first and important thing is to keep in mind that the construction is one of the most polluted industries in the world. So we do have to take this extra effort to make it greener or more sustainable and more efficient, especially if we have the opportunity to build new homes or neighbors. So first, I think it's a good opportunity to say it is heartbreaking for all of you guys who lost your houses, and I think they say that you can make from any lemons you can make a lemonade. I'm not sure I said it properly, but it might be a good opportunity to live a new dream and to imagine like a better future for your house and for your neighbors and your neighborhood. So don't think just about your own place. I think that it's important to think about the whole neighborhood. So usually in my company, we don't consult for one house because the impact is a little bit small than what we are aiming for. So we do consult for hospitals and, very big, it could be a huge scale of neighbors, and it could be malls and it can be office site, but it's very different from one usage to the other. So me and Oren and Ron, we talked I think it was like maybe a month ago when you all told me and you sent me like this very hard videos, and then we thought what I can bring into the table and maybe help you guys to think how you can plan and do better on your side when you're rebuilding this whole neighborhood. So
right. And, I think that like the first time me and Ron heard about like the term passive home was from you, and then we started to dig into it. We started to talk to Lindsay Horvath, the office, a couple of times about the idea of like people that will build to these standards of passive homes or like more energy efficient and stuff will get a priority in permitting and stuff like this. So maybe you can teach us a little bit more. I know that a lot of people, we even talked, like me and Ron talked to few builders that haven't heard about the term passive home. So maybe you can like...
Okay, yes. So maybe we can educate a little bit everyone who listens here. What is in general passive houses, because it's important to understand that passive house is actually the way we build our houses and what will be the energy consumption of the house itself and what is the energy efficient of the building. So we're going to be focused of how we can reduce the building energy demand to make sure that the cooling and the heating system become almost unnecessary all year long. I know that you have like a very hard summer, the winter also could be cold, and you're paying quite a lot of money for your energy billing. So electricity billing, I mean. So it could be a great opportunity for you guys to maybe pay nothing. I always say that it's if you think about it, your house can work for you. So instead of I don't know what is your average monthly billing for electricity, in Los Angeles. But if we're talking about net zero, it means that you're not going to pay anything. So the house will make enough energy for its own usage. If we're talking about net positive, which is sometimes very, very easy when we're talking about landed houses, when you have a lot of free roof, so you could put like PV panels. You can use like it depends on the glazing. Then usually we suggest to do like a triple glazed, and to make sure that the excellent thermal performance is very high. So it's also very important. There is an energy rating that you can like fridge or any kind of electricity devices that you buy. You have this like a mark, like a little sticker that says A, B, C, D. So in Europe, it's very common when you rent or buy a house, you have to put it in your lease, like what is the energy rating of the house, so you would know how much money it will save you. Here in Israel, it became mandatory a few years ago, so we're picking up on that, and also in other places where we are consulting around the world, we know that this is something that become more and more common. So when it comes to your house, I think it's a great opportunity for you guys to think what you can do to make it greener. And I'm not talking just about we're talking passive houses, and like what going to be the energy consumptions of the house, which is one side of this. Another side of it is like what's going to be the natural ventilation of the house, and what's going to be the natural lighting. Is it going to be enough? And we're talking about the whole neighborhood. Are you going to have enough sidewalks? I'm not familiar with what you had before. Are you going to have paths for bikes? You have kids that might going to ride those roads. You want them to ride not in the sun, so you want to make sure that those areas have enough shadow during the hot summer. And also when you're facing a lot of fires, then you might think of how you can become more resilient into this crazy, I would say, weather. So you can think about how you can the wind, how we can tunnel it not into one place to make the fire grow very quickly. So we could also use, there is a different type of plants actually that they are like reduce the fire. So maybe create like a ring around you to protect you and make sure that those hazard doesn't go all the way, because when it comes to fire and wind, it all comes together, and it's not a good it's not a good way.
Yeah. So I mean, I think before we even get to the fire resistant part, when we talk about the passive design, you're really talking about making the most of the sun's energy and keeping as much energy within the house as possible, especially in colder climates. But when
also in very hot climates, because it goes for both ways, because in the summer you have to put your AC to make your house colder,
right,
and in the winter hotter.
So I mean, just as an example, in cold climates, I used to think about this when I was studying in the Northeast of the United States, but you want windows that face south because you want to face the sun, and get the sun in, and you don't want very large plate glass windows facing in some other direction because a lot of the heat will escape the house that way. So so you want to line it up, and you need to know where the sun is. And I'll tell you something. Go ahead. Well, let me just make this
a little
one point.
bit. Just another way of think about it is also how do you what's going to be the position of the house, which is very, very important, especially if we're talking about landed house. You do have the option to move it a little bit around, and it can make a big difference.
So my house in the Palisades faces the wrong way. We've often felt like this. It faces the wrong way. The side that faces east and south has very few windows, at least by the kitchen. There's a nice living room window, but basically they put these early houses up in the Palisades in the post-war era in these 2-bedroom bungalows, and people have either knocked them down and rebuilt, or they've added on to the bungalows. My house has all these add-ons. But the other element in the Palisades, which we're all now very familiar with, unfortunately, is wind. How do you design a house and the landscaping around the house to deal with wind? And this is the one thing that previous owners of my house got right, which is that they planted a bunch of ficus trees facing into the wind. And my mom always said to me, why don't you cut those trees down, because they block your view of the mountains? And I said to her, Mom, they keep the wind off the house. And as it happens, they also kept the embers off the house, because that's probably one of the most important reasons my house survived, was there was this giant screen of ficus trees keeping the embers away. Some of them burned, but having at least a first layer of defense was important. Now, however, and maybe we're getting a little ahead of the discussion, Oren and Adi, but now we're being told we can't have certain kinds of trees. I just saw some of the restrictions. The neighbors are talking about it already. You can't plant eucalyptus, you can't plant pine, you can't plant palm, acacia, no pampas grass. So some of the trees, at least, that we're used to seeing, which are very attractive, especially the palm trees, we are not going to see anymore. I don't know if you agree with that, Adi, but I don't know how I feel about that, because I love the palm trees in our neighborhood, and some of them burned and spread embers, which is true, but it's hard to imagine people are going to be restricted in the kind of trees they plant.
I think that when it comes to the whole neighborhood, you do need to think about the benefit of, what type of trees you're. Maybe the palms doesn't have enough shadow, and it's look beautiful, but the effect is not. It doesn't worth it. So you can choose another and a better option for your benefit. And I think if it's already there, then you're gonna save it and you're gonna keep it. But if it's already the whole area is completely new, then it's a great opportunity to think really what would be the best, not just how it's going to look like, because the way you look at it is only one. It's only one thing to think about, and another thing to think about is like you said, is the wind, is the fire. You want to build a resilient area, and you want to make sure that you're going to be safe there. So it's a great opportunity for you to choose the right thing for you. Exactly like you said, that's what's going to be the size of the window. So we're not talking about size of windows here, because we believe that there are enough technology, or if you're going to choose well, then you can choose. You can still keep your window quite wide and open, and just put like I said, like 3 glazing, or you could use another type of shadow if it's going to be outdoor or indoor. So it depends of what you need. So there is a lot of things that you can do, but I'm saying don't fall in love with something that you used to knew, because it's might gonna serve you in the future. So you need to think what's gonna be good for you in the next, maybe not even 10 years, because when you build a house, it's for the next 50, maybe 70 years. So it needs to be for the long term. And this is how you should think about your planning. I'm not talking just about winds, also what about water? The rains become very heavily, so it became shorter in time, but they are very heavy rains, and then a lot of floods that you can see all over the world. And then when you build a new neighborhood, you need to think what you're gonna do with all this water. Are you gonna take care of it in your own area, or is it all gonna be gone out to the common area of the neighborhood, and who's going to take care of this? So it needs to be like a balance of like you do it on your side as much as you can, like the municipality do it on their side as much as they can. So at the end, 100% of the water, of the raining water that we're having on the ground of this craziest day of rain will still be taken care of. So there are lots of different perspectives and different challenges that need to take in consideration. It can be the sun, it can be the wind, it can be water, it can be fire, and different places just bring different challenges into the table. And I think that maybe your main goal at the moment is not just to think about your own house, which is sometimes very easy because this is like your bubble and this is the place to be. I think maybe just to open up and think what you could do as a neighbor and how you can make sure that you do it better. Like when all of you are, if you're already, it sounds to me that you're already kind of like a close community. So you can maybe ask and create like a better resilient area. Also like greenery areas and like community centers and playgrounds for the kids, and walkability and bikes.
All those things not to interrupt important. You, but we were talking about that as well, that there are some opportunities now to put more green spaces in, which could also be natural fire breaks. We don't have enough parks. We have the beautiful recreation center in the middle of Palisades, but we really don't have enough parks. And maybe there will be some opportunities to use some of the vacant land, not just empty lots, but there are parcels of vacant land that have been neglected, and maybe they can be natural fire breaks that are parks and recreation places, playgrounds, dog parks, whatever.
Amazing.
That could be great. Yeah.
Oh, it is going to be great because, it's going to be like a border, and then
a border against fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oren, I want to let you follow up, but I'm sure you're going to ask the question I'm going to ask anyway. So What about cost? Is it more expensive to build sustainably, or do you save money?
So, first of all, like everything, it's an investment. If it's your own house and you're gonna live in there, then the ROI can be very. We're talking about, I mean, in general, 4 to 7 years, and I know that there are a lot of banks around the world that will give you a better loans if you build green. So this is another thing to take in consideration. So if you're aiming for there is the LEED certification, and there is a WELL certification, which I'm not sure if you need it because it's your private house. But if you're gonna have like a sustainable consultant and make sure that is gonna lead you to make sure that you do, and he will give your architects the right. Because what happened that usually the team of your architects and whoever is just not on their mind, and not because they're not doing their job well, because they have a lot of things on the table, and then suddenly when you have someone that this is what he has in mind, like a sustainability consultant, then immediately, or if you for example, Ron, if you really care about like how much money your house gonna be, like the maintenance of the house, how much money you need to put in every month, and you want to reduce the cost, then obviously that it will be more easy for you to spend more money on technology, knowing that you will have a good return on investment in a very short time. So we're talking, it depends what are you aiming, because you can do just a little bit, and I can tell you that most research says that it's between 1 to 3% add on to your cost of constructions if you do like very well thermal walls, and if you create like if you decide to use like a good glazing, and if you take in consideration like green materials. Today the gaps are not very big, but if you want to go for a net zero house, then obviously we'll have to put more money into it, because you will just need to put different technology into this. So it could be like PV panels, it could be like the different kind of other systems that can be useful for your house.
Yeah, I think
What
the
is
ROI.
exactly
I think the ROI on these things is typically, especially when you have new construction, is pretty good. Like
It
you
is.
said, 4 to 7 years. If you put every dollar you get in, you're going to get, in terms of an ROI, 15-20% a year. That's pretty good. And if you look at like areas like LA, I know that our electricity bills, for example, are very, very high relative to the rest of the country. I think the ROI can be even better when you look at things like solar and some of the things that you mentioned. And you have to do it anyways. You're not going from a static situation. You're going from a place you have to build. And some of those costs have been really reduced. I have a question for you more about has there been anything in the last 5 years that you're really excited about, in terms of new things that are coming on? Or, I think people generally have heard about some of the mainstream stuff, but is there anything new that we should be on our radar if we're looking to rebuild on a community-wide basis?
Yes. So first of all, I think that if you come as a group, it's important for you to take this advantage and get a good prices on the different, the different whatever it is. I don't know if you have elevators in your home or any type of
bug buying, in general,
exactly,
as a concept.
Yeah. So that's might gonna reduce the prices, and then and also maybe approaching to a different bank that will know that you're doing a green building, and this is one of the main and then he will give you, I know for sure that he will give you some places to also give a reduce the monthly
Mortgage
pay
rate,
that for
mortgage rate.
no, not just the mortgage, also the monthly pay for the municipality,
Property
the taxes, the
Property
property
taxes,
taxes. Yes.
Not in
So
our
in
case,
New York City, you can get 10 years a free property tax if your house is LEED certificate, for example. So you do have the power to use this, and if you're gonna do it, then also it's gonna be a great impact of you to the whole area, because you're gonna consume less of everything.
That's a great idea, to ask the county and the city, what if people are building with the LEED certified houses, if they can get like a discount or like free of.
Can you define LEED certified? It's LEED, right? Not LEAD.
LEED, yes.
What does it stand for again? I have
LEED?
to look it up.
It's the USGBC. It's the Green Building Standard in United States, which is like one of the most. It's very exclusive, I would say. And once you have like a different level of LEED. You have LEED certificate, and then you have just LEED silver, gold, and platinum. So the more points you gain, the higher certificate you can receive to your house, which means.
You can get it at your house, like individual houses. So it's a Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design certification from the U.S. Green Building Council. There you go.
Exactly.
Can you do it on an existing house, or is it only on new houses?
You can do it on an existing houses as well.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It is. I'm not sure. Usually the cost is not cheap to go all the way through LEED, and I'm not sure that if you build for your own needs, then you need to go through this certification. So maybe you can ask what if you're gonna have like a set of goals, and if you're gonna do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can help you think of what you want to present to this. To your municipality, to tell them this is what we're aiming to do. What are you willing to do to give us if we do that? So sometimes it is a give and take situation, and I think you might be in a good position for negotiation here. So
what does it mean? Can you talk a little bit about like I'm building a new house now? What does it mean to have to get a LEED certified house? What do I need to do?
So I'm still trying to not to take you to like a full LEED certificate. It might be challenging for landed houses. Also, it comes with a lot of simulation and a lot of checking that needs to be done for the energy consumption, for water waste, for this. Also, you need to present all the invoices of whatever it is you bought to make sure they want to see you're not just saying you're really doing it. So the whole building and the site need to be organized and followed by the LEED restricted, and it might bring a big challenge into your. So I'm not sure if this is what you need to do, but the main thing is that we are the team of LEED Consulting. We'll be joining the architects in a very early stage, and we're gonna look at the plans, and then we're gonna give. There is like a scoreboard, and then from this scoreboard you need to choose what is a good fit to your home, and what are you gonna do to aim those points, because each thing will give you points. Some points are mandatory, and some points you can choose from. And it's related to energy, to water, to materials, the green certificate of each materials, where are they created, what are their carbon footprint, also LCA. So it's what is the energy rating of the whole house, the positioning of the house, shadow.
LCA, just for somebody people that doesn't know, is mean life cycle analysis. So it means is like if a bottle was made, so how long, if you throw it to the garbage, how long until it can be recycled. So that's the LCA calculations.
Yes, or what you're going to do at the end of your usage of this material. For example, if we're talking about offices, we're buying chairs. What are we going to do next with those chairs? Who is going to enjoy those chairs in the next round? So we are really thinking through of the next cycle of the items we're going to use. So it comes to everything. It's literally everything. And then it's a big question. What are you aiming for? Is it just the LEED certification? Is it not LEED and you're just going to do like a green, I would say greenhouses that it's important for you, but you're not going to get the certificated from the USGBC? Are you aiming, if you are, is it going to be just silver? Is it going to be gold? Is it going to be platinum? Because the difference is huge. is so, and the gaps of how much money you need to put into it are big. So it's hard for me just to give you like, an answer. Like it's something that
What
each
is
and
the
every
most
one of you-
important? What is the most important thing if we want to like? We're rebuilding now. Let's say in the west side of LA, that is not too hot. It doesn't get too cold. But I know that like now we're talking to builders and everybody is like pushing towards framing, to do all the framing from either metal or aluminum, because then it can be recycled and not from wood. That's like one thing I've seen people pushing to. I think that in terms of LCA, for instance, where we're talking about like all the traffic that's going now into the Palisades. So if you build and you do regular kind of construction, so does LEED take under consideration that I have trucks coming in and out all day long with the employees and like people that driving to build it, or because that's part of the LCA,
it
no?
will, but it's only one side of a very long list of things that you need to do along the way. So don't get into this particular, because there are so many other things you will have to do to get certified. So what needs to be done is to think about also when you're going for a LEED, the bigger picture of the most important thing is how we can make sure that the house gonna use less and the energy consumption, and how we can make sure that the thermal insulation was great. The glazing that you chose is the right one for your area, and if the way you just how you decided to how you choose how to
Put the house
on the plot,
sun?
but
Yeah.
yes, but there is a better word for it that I suddenly lost it. And so the whole thing comes into, and the materials, are they going to have like VOCs, or are they going to, what kind of it's important, and all those things will be taken in consideration if you're going through the LEED. It's a long process.
Okay. What else? Like, understand that LEED is like LEED might be like too overwhelming.
That's
for
what
us,
I
but-
thought.
But I think that you mentioned before that, like in the beginning of the conversation, you talked about like how to change the wind direction, and I think that that's something that's very interesting. I just moved from like where we lived in Malibu to a different area that I'm sure is going to have a fire very soon, and that's very interesting. Like, how can we change?
You bring the fire? What's going on there, Oren?
Yes,
It's like
I'm getting. So how can you change the direction of the wind, basically? With the...
So it's not just you. It's when it comes to a neighborhood, it's like the whole building. Like when you think about New York City, the old building, like rows, right? Like this, then suddenly the wind can come very strongly from one place, from one side to the other, and you created like a wind tunnel. And what we're trying to do, we're trying to kind of break the wind to make sure that it could be better. It's going to be easier for the wind to go through the places, and then to move from one place to the other with when they have like obstacles. So like Joel said before, trees can be a good solution. And then you can put like also like a shadow that can also stop the wind from climbing up. But I know the whole area is very low, or you have like also a high-raised building next to you. I'm not very familiar. Like how close are
Mostly
you to?
it's 1 or 2 stories houses in our area.
So it would be more about the how tall is the facade of the houses, and and what type of trees did you put, and the orientation of the building. All those things are very important when it comes to wind, and you need to do a wind simulation, which is called the CFD, and then you can look at the whole area and see where the wind is coming from, what are the challenges day, and then to see how you can make sure you can reduce the wind, or at least try to lead it for one place to another, and not everything to the same place that will be leading to a bigger fire.
That actually could be great if the city could provide us like somebody like you guys that can like go ahead on the planning, instead of planning like, I don't know if who from our audience built his house, but before you even start building your house, you come with your plans and you give it to planning department, and then planning is approving it and then like taking it to building and safety. So I think that like if planning department could give us like instead of us going to planning department and just like always getting issues with the way we want to build, maybe give us advice on how to build greener, how to let's say that the Palisade has a plan now of if in 5 years there is another crazy wind like this, and a fire starts, how are they going to direct the wind? So
I know that they do it when it comes to taller buildings. Like the standard is quite high when it comes to California and in general. So usually they do, but I'm not sure if landed houses are having the same structure and need to face the same things. Like when it comes to bureaucracy.
Yeah, but maybe if they will do something like this and they say, you know what, if you build your house according to not LEED standard, but they will do some sort of a standard, and in planning department they will give you advice. Hey, if you put over here kind of this kind of trees and you build your house in this direction, then you get like 30% discount or 100% discount for the next 10 years. I'm sure that a lot of people on your tax return, property tax. I'm sure that a lot of people will join and do that.
I have a question just about finding contractors for this kind of work. How would you suggest, because when you look for a contractor for any kind of work now in rebuilding or repairing, there are dozens and dozens of companies. You don't know who you can trust. Some are from the local area, some are from outside the area, and it's very, very confusing. And without asking you to endorse one company or another, what's a good strategy that people can use to find someone who can build sustainably?
I think first of all, this portfolio of the company, who is and then creating like a tender or a bid, and then put in there all the things that you are aiming for, to make sure that he understands what he needs to fulfill. And then if he ever did anything like that, he will be able to show you, because it's not a secret. Buildings are there to stay, and it's very easy to see if someone has done it before, then you would know. And then you put all your money into this house. You need to make sure that you get the best out of it. And so not always choosing the cheapest option, and going for good recommendation. Make sure that he knows how to work with different technology. If he doesn't understand, the benefits of I would say of the sustainability in general, then maybe he's not a good fit for you. So for example, we know a construction company who not just saying that it's important for them. It is really important for them. For them, every wood that is being left will be taken into another company that's gonna rebuild like a different fences, for the community center. And it's beautiful to see how things like one trash become another one treasure, and they really make beautiful things out of the waste of the construction. So what I'm saying is just you just need to open your eyes and look carefully. Don't just jump and get more than one quote. I mean, it's important, like 2 or 3 or 5. You're a very big
I
group
don't know
of
how it
people.
works though. I mean, Ron, maybe you know how it works to put out a bid there and evaluate the technology. I mean, in your experience doing technology in the construction field, how do you make a decision and how do you get the word out there? I mean, Adi says you have to put out a tender, but there are so many
I can.
thousands of, yeah, I just don't know.
I think it would be much. I mean, Adi can, I'm sure, talk a lot about this, but like as far as locally, power in numbers, like just in anything, like you get a group or a neighborhood, or you go directly to the municipality if there's an appetite to do this, and then you get people to essentially like give you quotes on a mass basis. Like I think like we have a unique opportunity because of the scale of the disaster and what happened, is to actually like attack it from a much different perspective, which is like go to the highest, authority in rebuilding, like the counselors and the county and the state even, and people like Caruso who are trying to help with this stuff and trying to get like larger companies involved, because those are the ones that are really going to be able to deliver projects like this en masse locally.
I can also suggest, like contacting a consulting company that can help you build like a green building appendix, to the tender, and then to make sure that it's written black on white, everything that you want to get, and then it goes down to the type of tab that you're using, because it's important to use the right tab and the type of materials and the coloring, and even what is going to be the color of your rooftop, which is important that it for it to be white, and people sometimes doesn't know it, but it can really reduce your energy consumption of the house. So it can be a list of things that's going to be just right there, and it's going to be it's like a checklist. It's going to be very easy for you guys to follow up on that, and then each one of you can do it for his own needs. If you're not going to take the same person, then maybe just create like, it's not going to be a one pager, but at least a well appendix for the tender to know what he needs to do for this building to be greener.
Let me ask you another question just about overall systems. And I know listeners will have heard me say this before, but I am very big on the idea of installing more water infrastructure as a way of making the neighborhoods more resilient. We had no water in the fire hydrants, or very little, and certainly no water pressure, even though we have a 117 million gallon capacity reservoir on top of the Palisades, which was empty. Even had it been full, we didn't have enough pressure because the model of the system was to have one central water source, which doesn't work in a wildfire where you have so many people opening hydrants at once. You create a pressure problem. So the water lasts a little while, but then you just don't have the pressure to run the water through the hoses. So I've been saying we need water tanks in each neighborhood. We need maybe to look at water infrastructure, sprinklers on rooftops. We had Jennifer Thompson from after the fire who said those don't work. And she said because they just increase the demand on the system. If everybody's spraying their rooftop at the same time, it's kind of like opening every hydrant at the same time. But what are your thoughts about water and putting more water infrastructure as a way of making the neighborhoods more fire resistant, and assuming that you're not wasting water, right? This is just water storage. This is not going to reduce the sustainability of these communities by wasting water.
In general, I said before that one of the important things is to save water. I was talking about raining water, and I'm still saying you need to think about it locally when I'm saying it's like in your own house, and also neighborhood, how you could, and I don't know why the reservoir was empty and what are the reasons, but obviously you need to have like a better system that will also check and will monetize and give you like a heads up if those systems are not well worked, and then you have to the maintenance of those things are super important. And if you're going to have more water along the way, in general, then it could be a good way to also prevent the fire from moving from one place to another.
Yeah, you're so right, by the way, because the thing I'm most ashamed of, I mean, I know a lot about water. The thing I'm most ashamed of about the fire, even though, we did a lot of things during the fire to try to help people, was that I saw the reservoir was empty 2 days before the fire, and I didn't think it was worth calling anyone about because I figured that the experts knew what they were doing. That's the last time I conclude that they know anything, but I actually saw it, because if you're in the Highlands neighborhood, you can look right into the reservoir, and I was up there and I looked at it and I thought, oh, gee, that's interesting. It's still empty. And
Yeah.
I thought, well, maybe they know what they're doing. I mean, I assumed that, and you're really
But
right.
it's
We
not
need
like
better
they're going to
systems.
fill it up, right? Even if it's
No,
empty.
they couldn't do it in
Yeah.
2 days, right? But
Yeah.
it was empty for a year at least, and some people told me that it had been almost empty for several years because of maintenance
wow.
and all kinds of problems. So anyway, the other question about that I have for you, Adi, is that I know just from spending some time in Israel that every drop of rain that lands in Israel belongs to the government. So how do you collect rainwater if you're a private homeowner in Israel when water is viewed automatically as a national resource?
You don't collect it. You can reuse it. I mean, a little bit for your plants. But if we're talking about larger scales, like hospital, like really larger scale, then everything goes back to the common area facilities, and then down to the drinking water. At the end. So what we're doing here is basically making sure that we hold it and hold enough time for it slowly to go back to the main system. So because we don't want to create any floods, then you don't want all the water to be in one place at one time. So you just do it like phases. And then you can have like water tanks, and then once the ground is dry, it slowly will go back into the ground. And then you can have like if it's going to be in your house or it's going to be outside of your house. It's not. We're not planning it for one house. We're planning it for the whole municipality. For Tel Aviv, for example. Tel Aviv is close to the sea, but we're talking more about places that's a little bit far from the sea.
Interesting. So it's like you're managing the collection of rainwater to control flooding and make sure you're not losing the water just running down into the street or flooding, but you're slowing the intake so that it actually goes into the groundwater and then it can be used. That's amazing.
And I can tell you that many places here in Israel are aiming for 100% of the water that are the raining water that are falling into will be taken care of. So you're not going to lose a drop.
You mean 100% retention of water? Like anything that falls, you keep.
Everything is
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
guys, we're so far behind. I mean, I think there was something like 10 trillion gallons of water that fell on the state in the last 2 years. It's enough for like a decade of California's needs.
But when you have enough, then it's not a problem. When you don't have enough, then you need to do something about it. So it's all about...
But that's the problem in California, that when it's flooded, it's like, for instance, the valley where they grow everything. When they flood it, they get floods like crazy. Yes. And there is nothing they can do about it. And they get hurt like really, really bad. And when they need the water, like a year later, they don't have the water. So I think the whole planning, again, going back to planning, the whole planning department... needs to understand more about how to gather this water, how can we use this water, how can we use it in the days of fire. I know that like a lot of my neighbors in the new neighborhood I moved to have installed like this like high pressure small water sprinklers, yes, and they turn it on and they connect it to their pools and they gather water in like big tanks. So I hope things like this can
like Joel said, when everyone open their tap, then suddenly you lose the pressure. So it needs to be like a better system for the whole neighborhood. So it all comes to planning. It always comes to planning, and make sure that you think what are the chances that this is going to happen, and then to make sure that you're doing a risk analysis well enough to prevent those from happening, which is hard, but it's possible.
And I think that's going back to education. Educating people and explaining them like what they can do is always like easier than just like getting it from a place of oh, you have to do it like this and now your cost is double. So if you educate them and you give them like, hey, you know what, if you do it like this, then you get like a discount on your property tax, then I think we can get a lot of people that will want to build to greener, better standards. And we're in the perfect place. We're in California. Everybody in California like love green, love the love nature, and we need to rebuild nature. So I think we have a lot of great ideas, and I think we.
But there is a big difference between saying we love it and we're doing actually. You know, we're taking the extra mile for doing this to make a change and a difference. So. I think that a good incentive from the government is a big thing, you know. So once you're gonna have like a good incentive, like you said, like property taxes, then obviously everyone's gonna be running for and doing it. So you just need to find what it is that help people do it faster, and it's a great opportunity for you guys to think how you can do the whole neighborhood better. I mean, the whole neighborhood can be green completely, which is amazing. I mean,
the first ever rebuild of something like this.
Yes, and green neighborhood, maybe net zero neighborhood. This is crazy.
Do you have an example of neighborhoods that were built like with yeah?
Yeah,
can you mention a couple that people can look up?
It's more, you know, like different buildings in Singapore.
Right.
I can look at buildings as a neighborhood because you can have like 2,000 apartments in one building. So, you know, so it's quite big.
Well, I'm wondering about the whole Israeli system. Seems almost more resilient and sustainable. I mean, Israel had wildfires a few weeks ago, and there wasn't one structure that burned. There was a fire truck that burned.
I think.
I mean, you're laughing, but it's like
God was on our side when it comes to this. So sorry, but I think we have to mention him because when it comes to learning from our mistake, we done nothing from the. I don't know how much you're familiar with the big fire we had in the Carmel. A few years back, and there was a lot of casualties, and then the government said that there's going to be a new aircraft that's going to be the government going to buy, and they're going to build and give more money to the firefighters, and nothing happened, and we're still facing a lot of fires, and not all just because of the crazy weather. So there are different challenges here. But I think that we're not taking any risk. Once fire has started, they just evacuated people. So.
But houses didn't burn down, Adi. That's the difference. Like over here, 10,000 houses burned down. Over there in Israel, they were.
No, there were also houses that were burned down here, but they were just empty. You know, people just left. So it's not 10,000, okay, but. A lot of people were evacuated from their houses, crazy as it is. But the whole system is just like let's make sure there will be no casualties, because rebuilding, restructure, redoing, we are quite good at it in here. So
yeah, we didn't really get the evacuation right here either. We were very lucky. I mean, you talk about divine intervention. You know, this could have been another paradise fire, God forbid, but. People got off Sunset Boulevard, even though they had to bring a bulldozer to move the cars. I saw they had to do that in Israel as well. But look,
so you didn't know in advance that you didn't have enough time to evacuate
we had time.
The house.
Well,
or?
There are a couple of issues.
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
It was. There were a couple of issues. One is that there were no police guiding the evacuation. So when people evacuated in Palisades, they were stuck on the road, and people started panicking. They abandoned their cars. That meant nobody could go anywhere, so then the fire department told people to leave their cars. Over on the other side of town, where they had the Eden fire on the same day, the county evacuation alert didn't work properly for, I think it was West Altadena. So most of the casualties are in that area because the people didn't get an alert on their phones to leave. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, there are all kinds of problems, but I really like your idea about water, and I think that's the most interesting thing that could happen here if we get the community together and we pressure public officials to
Yes.
build water infrastructure that's sustainable. And I love your idea also of public spaces. What kind of trees do we want in public spaces? You know, we have sidewalks from before the fire that are unsafe,
Yeah.
and we could use this as an opportunity to fix that, to
And
make
also
them.
how you're
yeah.
watering those plants to make sure that if there is a fire, there is enough
Right.
water, so there is a lot of things to do to reduce fires probably gonna happen. I mean, that's the way the world and the climate change, and we're gonna see this more often. We just need to build a better resilient and find a better solution, and also having like a better system to make sure that all the people in the area knows on time when they need to go and find a shelter, when they need to evacuate. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very important.
I've just one more thing to add before I throw it back to you guys, Ron and Ezra, Ron and Oren, excuse me. The term climate change and net zero, and some of these come with some political baggage, and I think the problem is that people sometimes hear those terms and then they decide they're not interested because it sounds political. I mean, net zero is a policy, for example, in the United Kingdom. It's been very sharply criticized because it drove energy costs up. People are already mad enough they can't replant their palm trees. People are being told they can't have a tree within 5 feet of the house, and people just feel like their personal freedom is being attacked, and it's very hard to achieve what you're talking about, which I think most people, if they understood it, would agree with, which is community-wide standards to make sure we don't have this happening to us ever again, but at the same time to balance it with the idea that people want to be free to design their own landscaping, not to have to listen to some government bureaucrat who refuses to give them a building permit because there's a tree too close to a house. I think, that's the challenge, is how do you make people feel comfortable within all of this?
If we put all the cynical just a little bit for a minute aside, and we look at the balance of the things, and I think that it's not just me hugging trees, okay? I really think
not that there's anything wrong with that. You want to hug a tree, you can hug a tree.
No, I mean, but I might do it, but I'm not gonna tell you. But what I'm saying is that the most important thing is the understanding that the house can work for you guys, and it can really, really, really be a huge difference between Oren house to Ron house to your house if you're not gonna build it on the same green standards. Okay, I'm talking greens because this is the way sustainability works. We're talking energy, we're talking water, we're talking materials. At the end of the day, if your house is gonna be if you're gonna create yourself enough energy, and you are the only house that's gonna have electricity while electricity blackout, then you're very lucky. And look what happened in Spain and Portugal not too long ago. They didn't have electricity for almost 70 hours, which is crazy. And all those in Ukraine, and blackouts become more and more common, So resilient. And we're talking really about the quality of your life, each and every one of us. So build properly. You're not going to do it again in the next 30 years. So do it now well. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to have a better house. Your quality of life is going to be better. You're going to have good natural ventilation. You're going to have great natural lighting. All these things gonna change your life during this time you're spending in their house. Your health, it's important. So it's not just a thing that we're saying, just do it because you do it. You really can feel a difference if you will go to a building that was the planning was taking care of all those things that we talked about. Immediately something in your body, it's just going to tell you. You not need to look for the lead sign, you're going to feel it. And sometimes you don't even know what it is, but you just know that it's really nice to work there. There is a lot of greenery, there is a lot of lighting. It's not too warm in the summer, it's not too cold in the winter. So also the thermal, it's comfortable for you. So I'm saying, put the politics aside and think what will be good for you guys, for your kids, for your family, for your health, and then do the right choices for you.
Great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ron, any parting thoughts?
I mean, I think also, like, you know, to add to all those wonderful things, at the end of the day, it's most of these things, and you have to like delve down to your particular situation, they do have a very good payoff from an ROI perspective. I'll just give you like a little anecdote. Like, you know, I unfortunately or fortunately finished doing my solar installation at my house 2 days before the fire. And
oh my God!
so I had like this brand spanking new system, battery recharging, electric. It was
Oh my
beautiful,
God.
expensive new system. So I'm not a good test case for this, but you know, just doing the back of the envelope math, you know, which I did, you know, the system would have been paid off in 3 years.
In 3 years.
In terms of like going from like my hydro bill to where it was going to be to the zero that it was going to be after it was going to be paid off in 3 years. That's a 33% return on investment, and that's better than you'll do in any market, which is crazy. So you have the opportunity here to like start from something from scratch, or you're forced into a situation. It's even better.
Yeah.
You have a blank canvas. You really got to explore these things, not just for all the other benefits, which I agree they're going to be fantastic. It's you do feel better. It's more lighting. It's a better living environment. But from an ROI perspective, these things are going to be paying off, a lot of them. So do your homework, and I think there's going to be a lot of a great ROI there.
I agree. I'm sorry that you didn't have the time to enjoy the system. But to know that you already have it in mind it's really great.
Well,
Yes.
Oren, any last words from you?
No, thank you so much, Adi. That was really great. I'm sure you'll get more calls from us like, Adi, can you tell us a little bit more about the new... And by the way, we'll start posting. Adi sent me some like very cool things, like this company that is doing like some sort of a double wall, and all the cooling and heating is happening in the outer structure of the building. So exactly. on the YouTube and on the link, we'll start posting like some links to some of these companies that I think that are doing a great job.
Go ahead.
No, if anyone in general has a particular question that we can help with, then we're always happy to assist. And
Adi, why don't you give the website or email information if you want? And I have to note, just in this context, your last name is Migdal, Migdal, which I believe is Hebrew for fortress. So we're talking about making little fortresses out of our homes and our communities. So maybe it's a great name for for the task of sustainable
right? I'm
construction.
building buildings, like I say.
Yeah.
But I got this name for marriage, so I didn't born with this name. So.
Well, however you got it, it seems to fit. It reminds me of that astronaut whose name was Shuttleworth. You know, I mean, sometimes the last name just really fits the occupation. Anyway, but Adi, why don't you tell us how we can find out more?
First of all, you can all approach to Oren. He has my all my information, and I will be happy to assist. The company calls Greener Sustainable Solution, and it's greenerbird.com. And then we're here for you. Anything you need. I know it's
Amazing.
challenging, and it sounds maybe scary a little bit in the beginning, but it's important for you all, guys.
Greenerbird, GREENERBIRD.com. And of course, you can find us at 3homelessguys.com. Our email address is pod@3homelessguys.com. And we are starting to get people writing to us with requests and questions, so that's great. And if I haven't responded to those yet, we will in future episodes. Please like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and subscribe if you're listening on any podcasting platform. For now, for myself, Joel Pollack, for Ron, and for Oren, these are the three homeless guys saying, stay strong.
Cross fingers.
Thanks for listening to Three Homeless Guys. If this episode hit home, please subscribe to our channel. Check out 3homelessguys.com for RSS feeds to your favorite streaming service. Follow us on social and share this with a friend who needs to hear it. Drop us a review or shoot us a message at pod@3homelessguys.com. We'd love to hear from you. Stay strong, and we'll catch you next time.